ആദ്യം അമൂലിന് പാൽ ഉൽപ്പന്ന വിതരണം. ഇനി ലക്ഷദ്വീപ് സ്കൂളുകളിലെ ഉച്ചഭക്ഷണം ഇസ്കോണിന്. സ്കൂളുകളിലെ ഉച്ചഭക്ഷണം ഇസ്കോണിൻ്റെ കീഴിലുള്ള അക്ഷയപാത്രക്ക് നൽകാനാണ് നീക്കം. ഇറച്ചി ഒഴിവാക്കിക്കൊണ്ടുള്ള ഭക്ഷണമാണ് നൽകാൻ നീക്കം. നഷ്ടത്തിലാണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് ലക്ഷദ്വീപിലെ സർക്കാർ ഡയറി ഫാമുകൾ അടച്ചുപൂട്ടി ഗുജറാത്തിലെ അമൂലിന് പാൽ ഉൽപ്പന്നങ്ങളുടെ വിതരണം നൽകാൻ തീരുമാനമായിരുന്നു. മെയ് 12-ന് അമൂലിൻ്റെ ഔട്ട്ലെറ്റ് ലക്ഷദ്വീപിൽ തുടങ്ങാൻ വേണ്ടിയുള്ള ഓർഡർ പുറത്തിറങ്ങി. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇപ്പോൾ സ്കൂളുകളിലെ ഉച്ചഭക്ഷണത്തിൽ ഇറച്ചി ഒഴിവാക്കിക്കൊണ്ട് സസ്യഭക്ഷണം നൽകാനാണ് പുതിയ തീരുമാനം. കുട്ടികളുടെ ആരോഗ്യ സംരക്ഷണത്തിനും ദ്വീപ് നിവാസികളുടെ ഉൽപ്പന്നങ്ങൾ കൂടുതൽ ചേർക്കാനുമാണ് ഇറച്ചി ഒഴിവാക്കിക്കൊണ്ട് മത്സ്യവും മുട്ടയും കൂടുതൽ ഉൾപ്പെടുത്തിയെന്ന് ലക്ഷദ്വീപ് കളക്ടർ അസ്കർ അലി പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു. ജനപ്രതിനിധികളെല്ലാം ഇതിന് സമ്മതിച്ചു എന്നാണ് കൊച്ചിയിൽ നടന്ന പത്രസമ്മേളനത്തിൽ അസ്കർ അലി പറഞ്ഞത്. എന്നാൽ അസ്കർ അലിയുടെ പ്രസ്താവന കള്ളമാണെന്ന് പഞ്ചായത്ത് അംഗങ്ങൾ പറയുന്നു.
ഞാൻ ഡിസ്ട്രിക്ട് പഞ്ചായത്ത് മെമ്പർ നൂർ ജഹാൻ, NCP അനുഭാവിയാണ്. ഈ അസ്കർ അലി സാറ് പ്രസ് മീറ്റിങ്ങിൽ പറഞ്ഞ മിഡ് ഡേ മീൽസിൻ്റെ ആ മീറ്റ് ഒഴിവാക്കിക്കൊണ്ടുള്ള ഇത് ഞങ്ങൾ ആ മീറ്റിങ്ങിൽ പങ്കെടുത്ത ഒരു മെമ്പറും കൂടിയായിരുന്നു. PCCയും നമ്മുടെ കവർച്ചിലത്തെ 4 ഡിസ്ട്രിക്ട് പഞ്ചായത്ത് മെമ്പേഴ്സുമാരും ആ പരിപാടി മീറ്റിങ്ങിൽ പങ്കെടുത്തായിരുന്നു. അതിൽ നമ്മുടെ മിഡ് ഡേ മീൽസിൻ്റെ മെനുവിൽ മീറ്റ് ഒഴിവാക്കിക്കൊണ്ടുള്ള ഒരു ചർച്ച വരികയും ആ ചർച്ചയിൽ ഞങ്ങൾ, അതായത് PCCയും മെമ്പേഴ്സുമാരും അതിനെ എതിർക്കുകയും അതായത് നമ്മുടെ ഈ ലക്ഷദ്വീപിലത്തെ സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ മീറ്റ് ഒഴിവാക്കിക്കൊണ്ടുള്ള ഇത് നടക്കില്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ സാറ് സമ്മതിച്ചതായിരുന്നു. അല്ലാണ്ട് ഞങ്ങളുടെ സമ്മതത്തോടു കൂടിയില്ലായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ ഞങ്ങൾ അവസാനമായിട്ടൊരു വാക്കുകൂടി സാറിനോട് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഈ മീറ്റ് ഒഴിവാക്കിക്കൊണ്ടുള്ള ഇത് ഒഴിവാക്കാൻ പാടില്ല എന്ന ഞങ്ങളുടെ തീരുമാനം മിനിറ്റ്സിൽ ഉൾക്കൊള്ളിക്കണം എന്ന് കൂടി നിർബന്ധമായി ഞങ്ങളന്ന് മീറ്റിങ്ങിൽ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു. അതെല്ലാം അവഗണിച്ചുകൊണ്ടാണ് സാറ് പ്രസ് മീറ്റിങ്ങിൽ ഏകപക്ഷീയമായി പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഞങ്ങളും കൂടി ആ മീറ്റിങ്ങിൽ പങ്കെടുത്ത് എല്ലാവരും കൂടി അറിഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇത് ചെയ്തത്.
എന്താണ് ഇസ്കോൺ? ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ സൊസൈറ്റി ഫോർ കൃഷ്ണ കോൺഷ്യസ്നസ് എന്ന ശ്രീകൃഷ്ണ ഭക്ത സംഘടനയാണിത്. ഇവരുടെ കീഴിലുള്ള NGO ആണ് അക്ഷയപാത്ര. ബംഗാളിലെ മയാപ്പൂർ ആസ്ഥാനമാക്കി പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്ന ഇസ്കോൺ 1966-ൽ അമേരിക്കയിലെ ന്യൂയോർക്കിലാണ് സ്ഥാപിതമായത്. പട്ടിണി കാരണം ഒരു കുട്ടികൾക്കും വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം നഷ്ടമാവാൻ പാടില്ല എന്ന ലക്ഷ്യത്തിൽ 2000-ലാണ് അക്ഷയപാത്ര ഉച്ചഭക്ഷണ പദ്ധതി ആരംഭിക്കുന്നത്. ഇസ്കോൺ കിച്ചണുകളിൽ വിളമ്പുന്നത് മുഴുവനായും സസ്യഭക്ഷണമാണ്. ഇസ്കോൺ വളരെയധികം ബ്രാഹ്മണീയ ഭക്ഷണ രീതി പിന്തുടരുന്നവരാണ്. ഇവരുടെ ഉച്ചഭക്ഷണ പദ്ധതിയാണ് ലക്ഷദ്വീപിൽ നൽകാൻ തീരുമാനം. മുഴുവനായും സസ്യഭക്ഷണം നൽകുന്ന ഇവർ സവാളയും വെളുത്തുള്ളിയും വരെ ഒഴിവാക്കിയാണ് ഭക്ഷണം നൽകുന്നത്. ഈ ഭക്ഷണം ലക്ഷദ്വീപ് സ്കൂളുകളിൽ നൽകാൻ കഴിയില്ല എന്നാണ് ജനപ്രതിനിധികൾ പറയുന്നത്.
മാളിക ജില്ലാ പഞ്ചായത്ത് മെമ്പറാണ്. മിഡ് ഡേ മീൽസ് മീറ്റിംഗിൽ കളക്ടർ വിളിച്ചുകൂട്ടിയ മീറ്റിംഗിൽ ആദ്യം തന്നെ എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയത് മിഡ് ഡേ മീൽസ് എന്ന പരിപാടി പ്രൈവറ്റ് വൽക്കരിക്കുക എന്നൊരു നടപടിയാണ് കളക്ടറുടെ വാക്കിൽ നിന്ന് മനസ്സിലായത്. അതിനുശേഷം അത് ഞാനും ജില്ലാ പഞ്ചായത്ത് പ്രസിഡന്റും അംഗങ്ങളും എതിർക്കുകയും അത് നേരത്തെയുള്ള പോലെ തന്നെ മതി എന്നുള്ളൊരു തീരുമാനം അപ്പോൾ തന്നെ പറഞ്ഞതായിരുന്നു. അതിനുശേഷം കുട്ടികൾ കഴിക്കുന്ന മീൽസിലെ ഇറച്ചി വിഭവങ്ങൾ ഒഴിവാക്കണം എന്ന് പറയുകയും അത് അംഗങ്ങളും മെമ്പർമാരും ശക്തമായി എതിർക്കുകയും ബീഫ് ആദ്യം ഒഴിവാക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. അതിനുശേഷം ചിക്കനും മീനും കൊടുക്കാൻ കളക്ടർ സമ്മതിച്ചിരുന്നു. എന്നാൽ മിനിറ്റ്സ് ഇറങ്ങുമ്പോൾ പൂർണ്ണമായിട്ട് ഇറച്ചി വിഭവങ്ങൾ ഒഴിവാക്കിയിരുന്നു. അതുമൂലം ഞങ്ങൾ ആ ഫയൽ അന്വേഷിക്കുകയും ആ ഫയലിൽ രണ്ടാമത് ഞങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞ തീരുമാനം എഴുതി ചേർക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. എന്നാലും അവർ ഇറക്കിയ ഓർഡർ അനുസരിച്ച് എല്ലാ ഇറച്ചി വിഭവവും ഒഴിവാക്കുക തന്നെയാണ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. എല്ലാവരുടെയും തീരുമാനം എല്ലാവരോടും ആലോചിച്ചിട്ടാണ് കളക്ടർ തീരുമാനമെടുത്തത് എന്ന് പത്രസമ്മേളനത്തിൽ കളക്ടർ പറഞ്ഞത് ശുദ്ധ കള്ളമാണ്. ഒരു പ്രദേശത്തെ കുട്ടികളും ആൾക്കാരും എന്ത് കഴിക്കണമെന്ന് തീരുമാനമെടുക്കുന്നത് ആ പ്രദേശത്തെ ജനങ്ങളാണ്. അല്ലാതെ അവരുടെ മേൽ അടിച്ചേൽപ്പിക്കുന്ന ഒരു നിലപാട് പാടില്ല എന്ന് തന്നെയാണ് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത്.
ബീഫ് ഒഴിവാക്കാൻ ഞങ്ങൾ സമ്മതിച്ചെങ്കിലും ഇറച്ചി ചേർക്കണമെന്നാണ് ഞങ്ങളുടെ ആവശ്യമെന്ന് മീറ്റിംഗിൽ പറഞ്ഞതായി പഞ്ചായത്ത് അംഗങ്ങൾ പറയുന്നു. ഇതേക്കുറിച്ച് ഇസ്കോണായി അനൗദ്യോഗികമായി സംസാരിക്കാനാണ് ചർച്ചയിൽ തീരുമാനമായതെന്നും മിനിറ്റ്സ് വ്യക്തമാക്കുന്നു. അതാത് സ്കൂളുകളിൽ ഭക്ഷണം ഉണ്ടാക്കി നൽകുന്ന ഒഴിവാക്കി കേന്ദ്രീകൃതമായ ഒരു അടുക്കള ഉണ്ടാക്കി ഭക്ഷണം നൽകാൻ ഉദ്യോഗസ്ഥർ പറഞ്ഞതും പഞ്ചായത്ത് അംഗങ്ങൾ എതിർത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ലക്ഷദ്വീപ് പോലെയുള്ള ഭൂപ്രദേശത്തിൽ കേന്ദ്രീകൃത അടുക്കള പ്രായോഗികമായ ഒന്നല്ല. പ്രത്യേകിച്ചും ഇത് കൊറോണ വ്യാപനത്തെ കൂട്ടുമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാണ് പഞ്ചായത്ത് അംഗങ്ങൾ എതിർത്തത്. ലക്ഷദ്വീപിൽ കൊറോണ വ്യാപനം കൂടി വരികയാണ്. കേന്ദ്രീകൃത അടുക്കള എന്ന ആശയം ഇസ്കോണിൻ്റെതാണ്. കർണാടകയിലും തെലങ്കാനയിലും ഇസ്കോൺ മെനു നടപ്പിലാക്കിയപ്പോൾ വ്യാപകമായി കുട്ടികളിൽ ആരോഗ്യ പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടായതായി ആരോഗ്യ വിദഗ്ധർ ചൂണ്ടിക്കാട്ടുന്നു.
Oh my God, first get the ISKCON out of Lakshadweep. Come on. They will never let you have egg. They won't let you have onions or garlic. You know, that is the experience that we have of all the other states. In the name of sattvic food, what they will do is they will give you total garbage. Garbage is the word. So I don't know why you must accept it at all. You can't beg them. They'll say this is our conditions, and we have only entered because our conditions have been accepted. They have created chaos in Karnataka and all the other states, right? So what you will get is some rice. I don't know whether they will give you even proper rice, but they'll give you rice, and they give you watery sambar or dal, which will be like water flowing down the slopes, and some little sprinkling of veg that looks like a vegetable piece here and there. Very tasteless because there's no onion, no garlic. And because they're children, you can't put too much chili also, no?
Oh, yes.
So it'll be like dishwater. You can't beg them to add egg. Sorry. What we did in Telangana, and that's very difficult. The ISKCON came and gave the rice and all that. And then the government separately gave money to the schools to buy eggs and give it. But Telangana agreed, and it was very difficult. The second thing is, in Telangana, Hyderabad, for instance, the Muslim children are not used to rice and rasam. They like a little bit of fried rice, a little biryani kind of flavors and all that. And they used to get sick eating this nauseating rice and rasam. Right? So I don't know what kind of food Lakshadweep people eat.
Ma'am.
But children like something which is rich and rich food.
Ma'am.
Right? A little biryani, a little fried rice, a little egg fried rice. If you really want, you can make food very tasty for kids.
Yes.
But the trouble with Akshay Patra is we are a bunch of IIT people, okay? I'm sure you have found out. Some IIT people who now wear orange robes, and they think they are saviors of the world. What they have done is they've got this huge machinery which dishes out tons of rice, and they say it is very sterile, we don't touch it, it is very safe. Listen, children are used to eating food at home where mothers cook with their bare hands. They wash it, wash the rice, after washing their hands. And we don't want rice that is not touched. We want rice that is touched, that is tasted, that is flavorful, and that is appreciated by the cook. Here the mothers will taste 2-3 times to see if the salt is okay, chili is okay, flavor is okay. These IIT graduates had no idea about feeding children. They are mad people. They are all IITians, and they go around with these orange robes, and they think our children are throwing away the rice. They can't eat it. It's so tasteless, and it's cooked at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. By the time it reaches the remote corners of the city, it starts stinking. You know how sambar starts stinking? Hot sambar you put in a vessel and open it at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. It smells. Now, what is the food that is good for children? I'm sorry, I'm so angry that they have reached Lakshadweep. But I'll just finish so that you can ask questions. Children's food ideally should contain good quality proteins from eggs, milk, fish, curd, and other animal sources. Okay? That, because children are growing tall, they need to make muscle and bone is not made with dal or with palak, muscle and bone are made from animal protein, because animal protein and our muscle protein is similar. So if a child eats egg, 100% of that egg or 100% of that milk or curd or paneer or whatever you want is used for the growth of the child, you are going to have a whole generation of stunted children. So that I told you, they have these centralized kitchens that cook tons of food and then they go around distributing that rubbish. That is the USP. They're all engineers. I told you, no? They're all IIT engineers. See, children don't want engineers to feed them. Children want women who are mothers, cooks, helpers, village women, even village men and young boys can do it. Depends on who's cooking. They want a human touch, not the touch of glass and steel, and they have huge centralized kitchens, steel containers, and they show off about that. They don't talk about quality of food. They show you the centralized kitchens. You understand? They are only showing off their engineering skills. We don't want that. We are capable of that. We have got huge boilers. I mean, we are capable of building all that, but we don't want. We want children to understand how food is made in the school and what is the nutrition value, and every day they have a variety. They can talk to the cook and the teacher and say, today the food was very nice, tomorrow it was not nice, yesterday it was like this. We want interaction around food. See, food is so important in a household, where the mother and child and grandmother, they bond around food. So if they see the school cooking it, they go and tell her, look, yesterday you put too much chili, I couldn't eat it. So there's the interaction which is so important. What are these engineers going to do?
So basically, I mean, as a general rule of nutrition, whatever is culturally appropriate for children, they end up consuming more. So what we have seen, for example, in Karnataka is that the food provided by Akshay Patra is very bland. It is once or twice if you eat it, it's okay. But if the same food is given every week, over a period of time, children end up not consuming it that much. There's a lot of wastage and under consumption, which is, eventually defeats the purpose of the whole program, because if children are not going to eat enough, they are not going to get enough nutrition. The food becomes like it's very different from what they usually eat at their homes, and so they don't find it tasty, and very forcefully teachers end up like force them to eat it. Otherwise, on days when the food is something like puliyogre, like pulao or something is there, they find that okay. But most of the other days when it's rice and sambar or some other vegetable, they find it very bland, and so they just like a lot of wastage happens. They just throw the rice and the food down the drain, and all those kind of things happen.
Okay.
So then, basically it doesn't. The idea of a midday meal is that at least one meal of the day should be very nutritious. And for the nutrition to help children, they need to eat it. And if they're not going to eat it, then there is no point in running the scheme. Because usually what they say about Akshay Patra is that it's very if you cook at the school level, there is chances of adulteration or some food getting poisoned and all. And Akshay Patra is very clean and all those things. That's not true, in the sense like depends upon how you manage the school. But eventually, even if it's clean and everything, if children are not eating, then what's all of this for? Spend all this money, and finally children don't eat it, and defeats the purpose of the scheme itself. So children in Lakshadweep, if they are used to eating a meat-based diet, animal protein-based diet, then that's what should be given to them. It should, from outside, should not be imposed. And Akshay Patra is a very problematic organization, because they are very they're Hindutva. Basically, the culture that they believe in is the Brahmanical culture. If you look at the writings of their founders and all, they are very casteist, and they are very Brahmanical in their thinking, and they're basically trying to impose all that culture on everyone. And most of the children who go to government schools are not from those so-called upper caste, and the food cultures are very different from this very, what they call sattvic diet and all. So there's a basic disagreement, and it's a cultural imposition, it's a religious imposition, and should be avoided at all costs. An exception that, like, if the school has only 20 children and it's just not possible it's not feasible economically to have a kitchen just for that school, in that case, for a limited number of schools, the idea of centralized kitchen was allowed. If you look at the National Food Security Act, it's an exemption to the general rule of school-based kitchens. But now, because of all this lobbying by Akshay Patra and the underfunding by the government, and also there is some ideological alignment between the present government, present administration in Lakshadweep, and this the ideology of this organization called Akshay Patra. Because of all these things, a very bad model is being imposed all over the country. Centralized kitchen is not a very good idea. Meaning, it's a model which is inferior to the school-based kitchen. In fact, if the government saying we can't run school-based kitchen, it means like they fail administratively. Because otherwise, like if you compare any school-based kitchen which is running well with the centralized kitchen, children are always more happier in school-based kitchens. Because food is very tasty, and the food is cooking. You can smell the food. They're waiting for the food to be prepared for the classes to end and for the interval to start. And then it's served very hot. They're very happy and fresh and locally cooked, and people use local items and all those kind of things. They are always better handled at the school level than like some centralized organization deciding some single menu for every single school and cooking early in the 7 o'clock. Right from 7 o'clock in the morning they start cooking. It gets ready by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Then the vehicle goes, keeps on dropping off these boxes from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's a very unnatural thing. Why would you want to do a centralized kitchen? Isn't like if it was our children, would we want them to have this food prepared at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, they're eating at 12 o'clock if they were our children? Just because these children come from poor background, we think like just because they're getting food, that should be enough. Why should you question the quality and the freshness and the nutrition quotient and all? Just bad attitude from the government.
Okay, sir.
It's surely going to lead to a drop in the amount that children will consume, and by extension, because of that, the nutrition quotient is going to drop. So there are two dimensions. One is the diversity of the food will decrease, because if you restrict the menu to only plant-based things and you reduce beef and meat from it, the nutritional quality of food anyways is going to go down, because the diversity of the meal is going down. Additionally, because the taste and the food pattern doesn't agree with the children, their culture is very different from this Germanic culture being imposed, they're bound to consume less. And third, because it's a centralized kitchen, it won't be very fresh and it will be very cooked some 3-4 hours back. Because of that also there will be underconsumption.
The government guidelines say that the preference should be given to school-based kitchens. So if people are happy, if the panchayat members are happy, there's absolutely no need to bring a centralized kitchen. So it's going against the guidelines of the midday meals itself. The only time centralized kitchens are considered is if the school is not able to cook for some reason, they don't have space, or it's an exceptional situation that centralized kitchens are required. And even that, what we say is, if you can't cook in the school, then give it to a local self-help group. So there's actually no place for centralized kitchens as per the midday meal guidelines.
Okay.
So one is it violates the guidelines itself. That is one thing. The other thing is children should eat what they used to eating at home. That is another important part of the guideline. It should be culturally relevant, and it should be based on using local ingredients. So even here we are seeing that the majority of children who go to government schools are children Dalit, Adivasi and Muslim kids who are used to eating meat, onion, garlic, eggs at home. It's only because of poverty that they're not able to access it. So there is again absolutely no place, if you look at it from a point of view of culture. Also, it should be what children are used to eating in their homes. Because what happens is children get different kind of cultural ideology. Sometimes they go home and they tell their parents, why are you using this, why are you using that. So it creates confusion in the children, and also culturally it's a very wrong thing to do. The idea is that whatever people eat, they're used to it, that should be given in the schools also. So that's the second reason. The third thing is nutritionally, Akshay Patra food is completely inadequate. It's not meeting the nutritional requirements. We have done fact findings. You can see that in our blog. We have put the fact finding report. We visited many schools, and it's so nutritionally it's not at all adequate. It will not provide the children what proteins. Yes, the midday meal is supposed to provide 8 to 12 grams of protein. It will definitely not provide the Akshay Patra food because of the way they are cooking. They use very watery dal and rice. That's it, and some few watery vegetables. Adding of egg, meat, milk, and ghee, butter, all those things are what will improve the nutritional value of the food. So Akshay Patra, they don't provide nutritionally adequate food. The other thing is, even that food the children are not eating because of the taste. The taste is a fourth thing. Children don't like the food. It's bland, it's monotonous, because it's centralized kitchen and then they transport it 20 minutes, 30 minutes distances. It's getting spoiled sometimes in the summer months. So it's what they're getting also, they're not eating. There's a lot of wastage. Because children just eat a little, they don't like the taste, and so they throw it off. So that the wastage is huge with Akshay Patra. The other thing is, the very important thing is the religious angle. So the midday meal, again, as per the Supreme Court, the NFSA guidelines, NFSA, according to the Act itself, the midday meal should not be used to promote any religious propaganda. It amounts to discrimination. So you can't bring some sattvic food, and they don't just provide the meals. They also talk to the children. They also try to tell them not to eat meat. They try to tell them don't eat eggs, which is not based on any scientific basis. It is completely religious agenda-driven approach, and it's again that violates the Food Security Act. You can't use the midday meal to promote religious ideology. Whether it's a Christian institution or Muslim institution or Hindu institution, that's irrelevant. They cannot use this to promote a religious ideology. And clearly this whole sattvic thing is a propaganda. Because if you look at the ISKCON, just look at the ISKCON Birmingham website, you'll see how much they say eggs are menstrual discharge of the hen, and then they say meat increases lust in the children, reduces concentration. So this doesn't come from any scientific basis. It's a purely religious agenda.
Okay, ma'am.
And also, ISKCON has been accused of misappropriation of funds and diversion of grains. That's another huge problem, because it's a public money. And if an organization has been accused of misappropriation, any idiot will tell you that you should not keep giving them more contracts. You should actually cancel their contracts and blacklist that organization for misappropriation. So it's multiple things. It's not just one issue with Akshay Patra. The only reason they are getting support is because of political backing and this whole ideological food fascism that is happening in the country. It is only because of that.
Okay.
And like CFTRI, if you can't access the study, you let me know. I'll send it to you. They've done a study which shows that onion and garlic improve the absorption of zinc and iron from food. And zinc and iron deficiency is a huge problem. We have 60% children with anemia in India. So why would you refuse to give a food which increases the absorption of iron from the food? And zinc deficiency independently causes diarrhea. It can cause stunting in children.
ആരോഗ്യ വിദഗ്ധർ എതിർക്കുന്ന ദേശീയ ഭക്ഷ്യസുരക്ഷാ നിയമങ്ങൾ അനുശാസിക്കുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ പിന്തുടരാത്ത ഒരു പദ്ധതിയാണിതെന്ന് പ്രത്യക്ഷത്തിൽ തന്നെ മനസ്സിലാവുന്ന ഈ അക്ഷയപാത്ര പദ്ധതി ഒരു ജനതയുടെ ഭക്ഷണ രീതിയിൽ മേലുള്ള കടന്നുകയറ്റമാണെന്ന് വ്യക്തമായി മനസ്സിലാക്കാം.